Welcome to the Prevent, Teach, Reinforce Training Overview for PTR. We're excited that you're interested in utilizing the PTR process as the model for comprehensive functional behavioral assessments, FBAs, and behavioral intervention plans, BIPs, within your district. As with any training, we would like to provide you with an overview to get a clear understanding of the goals of the training, as well as provide you with some things to consider when planning for supports following training. Before we delve deeper into PTR, we want to share with you where PTR fits within a comprehensive Tier 3 system. Within a comprehensive Tier 3 system, the number of students with the most intensive needs should be relatively low, usually somewhere between 1% and 5%. Too many students who appear to need more intensive supports will result in a school not having the sufficient resources to utilize an effective problem-solving process. When we focus within that top tier of what few students need, we're going to be engaging as a team in problem solving. The goal being to identify what is needed to achieve positive student outcomes for students, whether that be general education or exceptional student education. Tier 3 supports are in addition to those provided at Tiers 1 and 2 and are not meant to supplant those supports. And even at that highest level of support, a continuum still exists. Some students with the most serious or intensive behavioral needs, dangerous behaviors, or with behaviors that significantly impact the learning process will require a comprehensive FBA BIP, while others may benefit from a more brief version of an FBA BIP. Likewise, other students may require more supports beyond the school setting and engage with outside agencies or medical professionals through wraparound supports. In each case, a team-based approach to functional assessment and problem solving drive the intervention planning. The resources and personnel may vary based on the individual student needs, but a Tier 3 system that is prepared to meet the needs of the students they will serve needs to ensure that key personnel have the skills necessary to guide teams through that process. What do we mean by Tier 3 systems? Back in 2014, BEAS provided a blueprint for Tier 3 implementation with the goal that these key practices would ensure results-driven Tier 3 systems. The blueprint guides districts to ensure that all educators have an understanding or comprehension of a Tier 3 system of behavior support, that educators have the beliefs, knowledge, and skills in order to implement and sustain Tier 3, that there are sufficient professional supports at the school level to implement Tier 3 successfully, and that sufficient district and school infrastructure align to evidence-based practices, and policies, procedures, and practices align between the state, district, and school. PTR is a standardized evidence-based positive behavior support process for developing and implementing comprehensive individualized FBA BIPs, just one part of a district's comprehensive Tier 3 system. PTR can help support districts with ensuring educators have knowledge and skills to implement effective supports, and if implemented effectively, can help ensure that sufficient professional supports are available at the school level to sustain Tier 3 as it relates to comprehensive FBA BIP through coaching. In considering PTR as a model for comprehensive FBA BIP, districts will likely want to review policies, procedures, and practices, as well as district and school infrastructure. As a result, districts who are taking that first step towards PTR training are also taking that first step towards a results-driven Tier 3 support. Here's another way to look at supporting the Tier 3 systems across district, school, and individual levels. PTR is a tool that can help with all aspects of individual student support for FBA BIPs. However, like we said before, when considering building capacity across one level of support, districts will want to think about how the school's Tier 3 system supports the student, and also how the district system supports the work of the school team. For example, does the district have sufficient personnel with behavioral expertise to consistently support all school teams? Does the district team provide schools with personnel and resources to ensure that each school can provide the continuum of Tier 3 supports to students from brief FBA to wraparound supports. Each system lays the foundation for the next, and to get the biggest benefit from using a process like PTR at that individual level, it may be necessary to consider or plan to address elements at the school and district level. As we set the stage for providing PTR as a model of comprehensive FBA BIP for individual student supports, here are some things to consider related to the FBA BIP process within a comprehensive Tier 3 system. As a district or school, how do we know that our supports are effective or technically adequate? Do we have consistency in our process that makes it easy to collaborate with families and teachers? Are we using teacher-friendly tools around data collection for monitoring progress? Do we have the resources and supports for teachers to ensure implementation fidelity? PTR can help answer some of these concerns as it relates to a comprehensive FBA BIP. As we think about planning for comprehensive FBA BIP in schools, let's look at some of the known barriers that schools experience. Often school or individual student teams are given limited guidance on critical features of a comprehensive and adequate FBA BIP, or the person facilitating the process has limited training or supports. PTR provides tools that are user-friendly for teams, teachers to use, including simplified way of data collection through the use of the iBurst, summary tools related to assessment, and guidance for the PTR facilitator is provided along each step of the way. Similarly, language is often clinical or jargony, making it difficult to understand what is being implemented. PTR language is meant to be easy to understand for all stakeholders, regardless of their level of training in advanced behavior analysis, which brings us to the last barrier here. Schools and districts often have limited personnel with advanced behavioral training to be an expert for problem-solving teams. PTR focuses on using a collaborative approach with consensual team-based processes built within each step. There is support for the teacher and team related to implementation and making database decisions throughout the process. Let's take a closer look at the FBA BIP process. As you can see, there are many steps to completing a comprehensive FBA BIP. Often, the FBA BIP is led by an expert with some advanced knowledge of applied behavior analysis, like a board-certified behavior analyst or BCBA. PTR is led by a trained facilitator with or without advanced knowledge of behavioral principles. The entire PTR process involves 5 broad steps. You can see that much of the process is the same as a typical FBA BIP model. However, the specific PTR elements, such as team-based collaborative decision-making, user-friendly forms and language, and a structured consensus development approach, are built into each step of the process. Another key feature with PTR is that it also outlines how to provide ongoing support to the teacher or implementer during plan implementation through planned coaching sessions. So why PTR? We know that function-based assessments lead to better outcomes for students, but those can sometimes be a barrier within the school setting. The research on PTR in the school setting shows that when compared to services as usual, PTR not only produced reduced problem behaviors, but also demonstrated increases in academic engagement and social skills. These student outcomes were evident across both general education students and students with disabilities from pre-K through high school, across gender and lunch status. PTR also had a higher rating of teacher willingness and ability to carry out interventions. Let's take a closer look at the training content. The training consists of 2 parts. Part 1, the functional behavior assessment, and Part 2, the behavior intervention plan. It will provide facilitators with an overview of behavioral principles that support the FBA BIP, how to use PTR tools and resources, and how to facilitate and coach school-based teams with the PTR process. Depending on the needs of the district, the pace, scope, and sequence can be adjusted. This training will focus on the PTR format and coaching support and is not a training course in applied behavior analysis. For participants with limited behavioral expertise, some advanced planning and additional coaching is recommended. Florida PBIS can support districts following initial training with coaching and consultation for PTR case studies. However, districts will want to consider the coaching support needed for successful school-level facilitation following training to continue to build capacity. As mentioned earlier, a comprehensive Tier 3 system includes a continuum of support from brief FBA VIPs to wraparound supports that connect with outside agencies. As such, this training is not reflective of comprehensive Tier 3 systems, and therefore it may be best to consider district goals and needed related to Tier 3 support before moving forward. As part of the training, all participants will have access to handouts, resources, and tools for PTR implementation. This includes copies of the iBurst for data collection, PTR assessments, and summary tools for elementary and secondary, as well as intervention planning. Let's take a little closer look at what those resources look like. The first resource for use during the training and for use in continuing your fluency of facilitation skills is the PTR Facilitator's Guide. This is a primary resource that complements the training in that it goes into detail for each step of the PTR process that is modeled during training. In addition to the Facilitator Guide, participants will also have an activity packet, which includes a practice case study. The practice case allows participants to compare their ideas with what the team came up with for the practice case. The PTR facilitation forms and resources is a companion document for use beyond training along with your facilitator guide. Lastly, the coaching for intervention implementation document will be referenced primarily for use as you approach step 4 of the PTR process, involving development of the behavior intervention plan and preparing interventionists to implement the plan with high fidelity. This is meant to be a resource for PTR facilitators as they coach towards implementation fidelity. Additional practice and application may be recommended based on district and/or school needs through an applied case study approach in which Florida PBIS can work on consultation and coaching those supports as needed. So, which training format is right for your district? We have a few different options available for districts to choose from. The first option is the PTR Online Canvas course. This may be best for districts with identified personnel with advanced behavioral expertise who could serve as PTR Train the Trainers and/or facilitators to schools across the district. It is not intended for school-based personnel. We also have 2 face-to-face training options. The first is intended to be geared towards district-level personnel. This is best for districts who have identified district-level staff who could support schools as PTR facilitators. These personnel may or may not have advanced behavioral expertise. Districts may want to consider the use of applied activities as demonstration of proficiency or utilize case studies. Coaching support is available for districts as needed. Lastly, we have an in-person school-level PTR facilitation training with ongoing coaching support for proficiency through a case study approach. This should be considered for districts with limited district-level personnel. In preparing for supporting school-level personnel, district leaders will be asked to identify district staff who can participate in the training in order to provide support post-training as needed to those school-level personnel. With both face-to-face options, a case study approach may be recommended so that participants can apply what they have practiced and receive feedback and support from Florida PBIS staff. The level of support provided should be discussed when planning for PTR supports to ensure that the training is meeting the needs of the district. If districts wish to use this PTR facilitation training to build additional capacity using a train-the-trainer process, it will be necessary to determine how best to meet those needs and demonstrate proficiency. As you can see, the goal of this training is to ensure that it is meeting the needs of your district to lead to those results-driven supports. PTR training may require some additional collaboration with district leaders to ensure other supports are in place to adequately support your school teams. Florida PBIS is prepared to offer multiple formats to meet the training needs and provide follow-up support as needed. We are looking forward to working with your district and helping to achieve those positive student outcomes. Reach out to your Florida PBIS TA specialist for any additional concerns or questions.